One rapper's father came forward claiming that YNW Melly was the one who took his son's life. But get this, the man who ended Jam Master Jay's life had the nerve to show up at his funeral. From Harlem legends to the new wave of drill artists, the streets have been ruthless. Rappers keep getting set up, robbed, ambushed, and betrayed by the same people they once called family.
From the day one, I believe that Melly was responsible.
Let's start with Nipsey Hussle. This story shook hip-hop to its core.
Not a record deal or nothing like that. It was like for the brand itself. And by them being founding members, they were going to get a piece of the pie.
Nipsey wasn't just another rapper. He was a visionary, a community leader, and a businessman who turned his street background into something powerful. He joined the Rollin' 60s Crips when he was just 14, but as he grew, he built something bigger. The Marathon clothing store, Vector 90, to bring STEM education to local youth, and he poured over $2.5 million back into his own neighborhood.
Actually, he filmed a rap video in front of the Jam Master Jay funeral, and he killed him.
Then came March 31st, 2019, the day everything changed. Nipsey was shot multiple times right in front of his own store. The shocking part, the man behind it wasn't a rival. It was someone from his own set, Eric Holder Jr. Earlier that same day, Nipsey supposedly told him there were papers floating around.
And I'm on a phone, he FaceTimed me. So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, sick, so I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey, and I'm like, Nipsey.
Street talk for someone being labeled a snitch. That word hit hard. Holder came back armed and took the life of a man who was feeding his entire community. He was later sentenced to 60 years to life. A neighborhood hero gone because of his own circle.
What's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered.
Luce went on to claim that shortly after speaking with Nipsey.
After I talked to Nipsey and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that. I'll see you later or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
But some say the truth behind Nipsey's death runs way deeper than Eric Holder. According to rumors even mentioned on the No Jumper podcast, Loose Cannon dropped some shocking claims that pointed fingers at Big U.
It's about him and Anthony getting into like altercations about disputes about money over certain situations.
A major figure in Nipsey's circle. According to Luce, Big U supposedly called him just 30 minutes before Nipsey was killed, saying Hussle had already been shot. That left Luce completely stunned.
And they got in a fight prior to that, and they said, like, you know the story that they say Sack beat him up and knocked his goals out in front of his girlfriend.
How could he have known before it even hit the news? Trying to make sense of it all, Luce said he reached out to Nipsey himself, and not long after, everything unfolded for real. Moments like this show how loyalty can crumble fast when pride and paranoia get in the mix. And if you think that story's wild, the next one takes Betrayal to another level. Because this time, loyalty might have never been real to begin with.
Tupac was there to get robbed. You understand? All right. Tupac was there to get robbed. He owed Jimmy Henchman some money. He was refusing to pay Jimmy Henchman some money.
Meet YNW Sack Chaser. His real name was Anthony Williams, and he wasn't just another rapper. He helped build the whole YNW crew from the ground up. Coming out of Gifford, Florida, Sack Chaser grew up side by side with YNW Melly and YNW Juvie. These weren't random collabs for fame. They were childhood brothers chasing a dream together.
It was kind of puzzling to me, because I'm like, huh? Like, what the hell? Like, why would you feel what I'm saying? We ain't really having no problems with Wayne. Like, how the hell they, but you know, I was in prison.
But when big money started coming in, things started falling apart fast. Juvie's father, Christopher Thomas Sr., later claimed that a massive $500,000 deal was supposed to be split between them, $200,000 each for Melly and Sack Chaser, and $100,000 for Juvie. The problem? Melly allegedly wanted a bigger cut for himself, and that's when the brotherhood started breaking down for real.
And so, you know, I don't know what was going on, but it threw me off, because I'm like, huh? Like, we ain't really having no problems with Wayne, like, to the point where it's serious, like, threatening, like, you feel me?
Things spun way out of control. Just 2 days before Sack Chaser lost his life, things reportedly got physical between him and Melly over that money argument. Juvie's father even claimed Sack Chaser swung on Melly so hard it knocked out his gold teeth right in front of Melly's girlfriend. That's how deep the tension ran.
Now, you and Bankroll Fresh were friends since you were kids.
Yeah.
But the drama didn't stop there. It started spilling over into family business. During an Instagram Live, Melly's mom, Jamie Demons King, claimed that Sack Chaser had once pointed a gun at her during an argument. The trust between them was shattered, and what used to be brotherhood turned into pure chaos. Then came October 26, 2018, the night everything changed.
he came out with his gun and shit happened. You know what I'm saying? When he came out playing with the shit, like just playing with the shit.
Both Sack Chaser and Juvie were found dead.
He fired a shot and shit happened. We pulled off, he ended up dead. That's simple the shit was.
Melly is now waiting for a retrial set for January 2027 for the charges related to their deaths. What started as a dream between childhood friends ended with tragedy and unanswered questions about loyalty and betrayal.
But I believe Chinks got set up. There's no doubt about that.
You think Chinks got set up to get murdered?
Yes.
And before social media ever exposed crew drama, Betrayal was already creeping behind studio doors. Just ask Tupac Shakur. You can't talk about loyalty breaking down in hip-hop without mentioning him.
Both the guys that killed him were just found guilty.
Yeah, I see all that. Yeah.
And one of them was his godson.
Yeah, you know,
and this dude would take pictures every year next to the mural of Jam Master Jay. Actually, he filmed a rap video in front of the Jam Master Jay funeral, and he killed him.
Most people remember the Vegas incident, but rewind to November 30th, 1994, at Quad Studios in New York, Pac was ambushed, robbed of about $40,000 worth of jewelry, and shot multiple times.
When you talk about bricks, there's niggas out there that'll kill their own brother, kill their mama over bricks. It's regular street shit. It's the street life.
He survived, but the real sting came from the setup. Reports later linked music manager Jimmy Henchman to the plan, and an inmate named Dexter Isaac later confessed that Henchman paid him $2,500 to carry it out. Industry insider Gene Deal even broke down how the whole setup went down, leaving everyone stunned at how close the betrayal had come from within the circle.
That man, after an investigation, it was revealed is Archie.
That moment changed everything for Pac. The Quad Studios setup sparked one of hip-hop's biggest rivalries, the East versus West Coast beef, and it pushed him toward Death Row Records.
Eversoul, the Archie Eversoul, who came up with the song, We Ready.
Then, on September 7th, 1996, tragedy struck again. Pac was shot 4 times and passed away 6 days later at just 25 years old. The man accused, Keith D, still hasn't faced trial. It's been delayed until August 2026. Pac's trust being betrayed didn't just end his life, it shifted the whole culture.
Police say that they have a man in custody. His name, Alexander Cross. Archie's own.
That was the 90s harsh lesson about what happens when loyalty gets twisted. But time doesn't fix betrayal. It just changes the players. Even the legends can get caught slipping, and Lil Wayne learned that the hard way. One of the greatest to ever hold a mic, Wayne found himself in danger, allegedly from someone he once called family.
Speaking about it, he didn't get killed by an enemy. That's the thing.
On April 26, 2015, after finishing a concert in Atlanta, Wayne's tour buses were suddenly sprayed with bullets while driving down Interstate 285.
The guy that killed him was in our house, was at my mom's stand. He was at the funeral with us.
Over a dozen rounds hit the vehicles, but by a miracle, no one inside was seriously hurt. The shooter was identified as Jimmy Carlton Winfrey, better known as Pee Wee Roscoe, who was later convicted for the attack, but here's where it gets wild.
Speaking about it, he didn't get killed by an enemy. That's the thing. The guy that killed...
Court documents listed Birdman and Young Thug as possible co-conspirators. Birdman, the same man Wayne called Daddy, the man who discovered him at just 12 years old and helped build his empire.
Tim was in our house, was at my mom's stand. He was at the funeral with us.
Investigators even found that Winfrey made 8 phone calls to a number linked to Birdman in the 12 minutes before the shooting. And then a leaked call after the attack captured Birdman telling Winfrey, "It's time to come out here and get your money." Even people inside YSL, like Mondo, later said everyone was shocked to hear about that kind of betrayal, especially coming from someone Wayne trusted the most. So where did all this start? It all came down to Lil Wayne's $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money Records and Birdman over unpaid royalties and the never-ending delay of Thought Carter Fab. Wayne finally settled in 2018 for more than $10 million, gaining full control of Young Money. But even though he walked away with his rights and his legacy, the whole situation showed just how cold the music industry can get. Shots were allegedly fired over business, and the person suspected of calling the shots was someone Wayne once called family. He survived betrayal from the top, but not every artist is that lucky when the danger comes from the people standing right beside them. Now enter Big L, born Lamont Coleman, one of Harlem's finest lyricists. He came up on 139th Street during the crack era, a time when the block was hotter than ever. But L wasn't just rapping about the streets, he lived through them. He ran with a crew known as NFL, short for Niggas for Life, a group tied to hustling and street moves. His own brothers were deep in that same life too. Just as Big L was about to make it big, with Rockefeller Records ready to sign him, Jay-Z even said the deal was basically done. But then tragedy hit. On February 15th, 1999, L was standing outside his mother's home when a car rolled up and shots were fired. He was only 24 years old. And here's the part that left Harlem speechless. The main suspect was Gerard Woodley, a close friend since childhood who even appeared on the back cover of Big L's first album. According to Lou Black's book Ethylene, things may have gotten twisted after Big L's brother, Big Lee, allegedly put out word on Woodley over a street dispute while locked up. No one saw the betrayal coming, especially not from someone that close. When that supposed hit didn't go through, Woodley reportedly realized Big L might have been behind it. Even Cameron once claimed that L had actually tried to take out Woodley just a week before his own death. It's a harsh reminder. Your day one can turn into your downfall overnight. Big L's end came from someone who once shared the same block, proving loyalty can flip fast when pride and power mix. And speaking of loyalty gone bad, the next story shows how even childhood friendships can't always survive success. Let's head to Atlanta, where trap music was catching fire, and one rapper had the whole city watching. Bankroll Fresh. Born Trentavious White, Bankroll was the definition of a rising star from Zone 3. With hits like Hot Boy and a deal with 2 Chainz' label Street Execs, he was becoming the next big name in the South. But sometimes your biggest threat isn't a rival from another side. It's the friend who's been standing next to you since the beginning. That's exactly what happened between Bankroll Fresh and his longtime homie No Plug. The two had grown up together since they were about 10 or 11. But when Fresh started shining, getting money, attention, and fame, tension started creeping in. Some say jealousy played a part, and even rumors about women added more heat to the situation. Everything came to a boiling point on March 4th, 2016 at Street Exec Studios. After an argument turned physical, No Plug left the spot, but later came back to grab his phone. Fresh stepped outside with his crew, ready for whatever was about to happen next. The energy was tense, the moment unpredictable, and Atlanta had no idea it was about to lose one of its brightest stars. When police arrived at the scene, they found more than 50 shell casings scattered across the ground. Bankroll Fresh had been hit multiple times and passed away at just 28 years old. By 2018, the case was ruled self-defense, but the damage was already done. A childhood friendship that started with loyalty ended in gunfire and heartbreak. Success had turned brothers into strangers, and envy showed just how patient it can be. It doesn't always strike right away. Sometimes it waits, watches you rise, and hits when you least expect it. And that same story of betrayal and jealousy followed another rising star, Chinx from Far Rockaway, Queens. Chinx, born Lionel Pickens, was next up in the game. He was French Montana's right-hand man in the Coke Boys crew and had been flooding the streets with hits from his Cocaine Riot mixtape series. His flow was sharp, his name was buzzing, and everyone could see he was on the edge of blowing up big. But on May 17th, 2015, tragedy struck. Around 4 a.m., while Chinx sat at a red light in his Porsche Panamera, another car rolled up beside him, and within seconds, shots rang out. Chinx was hit multiple times, and his friend Yemen Cheese, who was sitting in the passenger seat, was also hurt but survived. The attack left the city in shock. Nobody could believe it. Even retired hip-hop detective Derek Parker weighed in on the situation, saying, "I believe Chinx got set up. There's no doubt about that." Another life lost just when things were finally falling into place. In the world of fame and loyalty, sometimes your biggest threat isn't a stranger. It's someone close enough to know your every move. The case went cold for more than 2 years and until December 2017 when police finally arrested Quincy Homer and Jamar Hill. The shocking part, both were childhood friends of Chinx, growing up with him in Far Rockaway. The motive traced back to a grudge that started years earlier in 2009 when Chinx and Homer reportedly got into a fight while locked up at Rikers Island. Chinx came out on top in that scuffle and Homer never let it go. He held that bitterness for 6 long years, watching from the sidelines as Chinx's career started to take off. And here's where it gets extra grimy. After Chinx was gone, Homer still showed up to the vigils and funeral, even wearing an RIP Chinx hat like he wasn't the one behind the setup. That's betrayal at a whole different level. In July 2024, Homer pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. But no sentence can undo what happened. Chinks' final album, Welcome to JFK, dropped after his death and climbed all the way to number 2 on the charts. A haunting reminder of how far he could have gone if envy hadn't taken him out. And if old grudges can destroy childhood bonds, imagine what happens when family and business collide. That's exactly what went down with Jam Master Jay, the man who gave Run DMC their iconic sound. Jay helped pioneer rap's crossover into mainstream culture, the first rap group to hit MTV, perform on SNL, and even grace the cover of Rolling Stone. But on October 30th, 2002, tragedy hit hip-hop once again. Jay was killed inside his studio in Jamaica, Queens, and the accused shooters weren't strangers. They were Carl Jordan Jr., Jay's own godson, and Ronald Washington, a longtime childhood friend. The people closest to him ended up being the ones accused of betraying him the most. Even rapper Tony Yayo spoke on it, saying it still feels unreal that someone like Jay, a legend who opened doors for so many, could fall victim to people from his own circle. Tony Yayo summed it up best. It's just that street life, regular street stuff. Investigators later said Jam Master Jay might have been targeted after allegedly cutting 2 associates out of a $200,000 drug deal. The case stayed cold for over 20 years until both suspects were finally convicted in February 2024. Imagine that, your own godson and childhood friend turning on you over money. Jay never saw that threat coming, but the next story proves that even when you do see it coming, sometimes you still can't outrun it. Now let's talk about Moneybagg Yo, one of the biggest names out of Memphis. He's still alive, but the tension around him has been brewing for years. When he signed to Yo Gotti's CMG label, some people from his old South Memphis circle felt like he switched sides. His childhood friend Stupid Duke even aired him out from prison, posting throwback pictures and calling him a sellout. Things kept getting darker. One of Bagg's known associates, Big Nusky, was killed in 2022, and then rumors spread when his artist Big 30 claimed that Bagg only signed him for protection. Not because he believed in his music. It's been non-stop tension, with both sides taking losses. The situation got so serious that Moneybagg reportedly moved his whole family to Atlanta just to keep them safe. In Memphis rap, loyalty gets tested harder than anywhere, because when you make it out, everybody wants a piece of your success. But not every betrayal comes from the streets. Sometimes it comes from blood. That's what happened with Archie Eversole, the Atlanta rapper whose anthem We Ready still echoes through stadiums around the world. On March 25th, 2022, tragedy struck when Archie was attacked while he slept. Injured but fighting to survive, he managed to walk to a nearby Chevron gas station to get help. Sadly, after a week of battling for his life, he passed away on April 3rd. The most heartbreaking part? The shooter was his own half-brother, Alexander Krauss. Family turning against family, that's a pain deeper than any street betrayal. There was no forced entry. The bedroom door had been kicked in, the evidence was solid, and by April 2023, Alexander Krauss was officially indicted for malice murder. It was a painful reminder that sometimes the biggest danger doesn't come from enemies in the streets, it comes from right inside your own home. The threat can be sitting at your dinner table wearing the same last name. From blood ties to day one friends, all it takes is one heated moment to turn everything tragic. That brings us to Lil Snoop, a story that still hurts fans to this day. Born Adderrin Ross, Snoop was a Louisiana kid with raw talent and hunger like no other. At just 18 years old, he was already turning heads, especially after he met Meek Mill. The legend goes that Meek heard him freestyle backstage at a show and was so blown away that he signed him to Dream Chasers on the spot. Snoop wasn't just gifted, he was destined for greatness. But on June 20th, 2013, only a week after celebrating his 18th birthday, everything came crashing down. Reports say a small argument over a $100 video game bet turned deadly. Snoop was shot inside an apartment, and just like that, hip-hop lost one of its brightest rising stars before he even had the chance to shine. His mom, Denise Ross, has spoken publicly about how it broke her. And then came the unthinkable twist. The alleged shooter, Tony Holden, actually showed up to Snoop's funeral, sitting with the grieving family while knowing what he'd done. He was later sentenced to 10 years on a weapons charge, but the murder itself remains technically unsolved. $100, a bruised ego, and a moment of pride, and that's all it took to steal a young life with endless potential. The streets don't always need rival gangs or major beefs to explode. Sometimes it's just ego mixed with envy that turns friends into enemies. And speaking of envy and violence, the New York drill scene has seen that same kind of tragedy play out again and again, and Nas EBK learned that lesson the hard way. Coming up in the Bronx, Nas EBK was tied to the DOA crew, but he was also cool with people from other sets at different times, and in drill politics, that kind of move can spark serious tension. Word started spreading that his childhood friends from the OGZ set weren't feeling his loyalty anymore, and they decided to teach him a lesson. One of them, PJ Glizzy, even admitted on Instagram Live that he robbed Nas EBK. According to Nas, it was a setup from the start, the kind that looks friendly until it's too late. Another rapper, CJ Goon, had vouched for the crew and built up trust for almost a year before things went sideways. When Nas showed up at what he thought was just a party, he got lined up and robbed. They walked away with about a pound of weed worth around $2,000. Nas later said his real money was locked up in prepaid cards, so they couldn't touch that. The setup wasn't random, it came from jealousy and street politics. Nas was shining, dropping bangers, and building momentum, and some of his old friends couldn't handle watching him climb while they stayed stuck. Right now, Nas EBK is behind bars on a second-degree murder charge tied to a stabbing incident in Times Square. His story isn't over, it's still unfolding, but it shows how fast envy can turn friendship into betrayal when fame and street loyalty collide. And that same painful pattern didn't start with drill, it's been happening in New York for decades. Way before the drill era, neighborhoods already knew how jealousy could silence a rising star. That's where Stack Bundles comes in. The flyest rapper out of Far Rockaway, Queens, born Raekwon Elliott, Stack had the full package: charisma, style, and serious bars. He was connected to DJ Clue's Desert Storm and Jim Jones's Bird Gang, repping New York with pure confidence. His fashion was loud, his jewelry game was elite, and his rhymes hit harder than most. Big names like Kanye West and Lil Wayne were already giving him cosigns. That's how real his buzz was. Everything was falling perfectly into place for Stack Bundles. The fame, the music, the momentum. He was right on the edge of superstardom, but on June 11th, 2007, tragedy struck. Stack was found shot inside the lobby of his own building at the Redfern Houses in Far Rockaway, just hours after leaving Club Stereo around 5 a.m. Investigators suspected jealousy, the kind that brews when someone from your own block can't stand to see you win. A man named Michael White, known in the streets as Murder Mike, was identified as a possible suspect. But just 2 weeks later, Murder Mike himself was found dead inside a vacant house. Coincidence? The streets don't think so. To this day, Stack's murder remains unsolved. NYPD later suggested it might even connect to Chinks' 2015 killing, since both were ambushed in the same neighborhood under eerily similar circumstances. Same area, same patterns, same heartbreak. Some artists lose their lives to hate, others over nothing at all. And that's exactly what happened with Slim Duncan. Slim was supposed to be Brick Squad's next big name, running with Waka Flocka Flame and Gucci Mane during the early 2000s when Atlanta Trap was taking over the charts. Born Mario Hamilton, Slim was featured on Waka's classic Flockavelli album and had his own mixtapes heating up the streets. But on December 16th, 2011, everything went left inside an Atlanta recording studio. Reports say Slim got into an argument with another rapper known as Young Vito, and it started over something as small as a piece of candy. Words were exchanged, things got heated, and it escalated way too fast. Moments later, Slim was shot in the chest and didn't make it. Let that sink in. A simple argument over candy ended the life of a young artist with major potential. It showed just how quick pride and ego can destroy everything, even when the fight starts over nothing. These weren't rivals from opposite hoods. Slim Duncan and Young Vito were both part of the Atlanta rap scene, both recording at the same studio that night. One petty argument spiraled out of control, costing a young man his life. In the end, Young Vito was acquitted of the murder charge but convicted of aggravated assault, receiving a 25-year sentence. That sentence was later overturned, though reports say he's still incarcerated today. Slim Duncan was only 24 years old, right on the edge of stardom, and his life ended over something so small it barely made sense. His story became another painful reminder that sometimes the biggest threats don't come from enemies. They come from moments of pride, ego, and split-second decisions. And it's not just rising stars who've fallen victim to that kind of chaos. Even legends have lost their lives in similar ways. Take Proof, for example, the heart of D12 and Eminem's best friend. Born Deshaun Holton, Proof was more than a rapper. He was the one who made the Detroit scene move. He hosted open mic nights at the Hip Hop Shop, the same spot where Eminem sharpened his craft before the world ever knew his name. Proof was the glue that held everything together. But on April 11th, 2006, tragedy hit Detroit hard. A simple argument during a pool game at the CCC Club on 8 Mile escalated beyond control. Witnesses said things got heated between Proof and a man named Keith Bender, and in the chaos, shots were fired. Bender's cousin, Mario Etheridge, who was also working as security that night, returned fire, ending Proof's life instantly. Toxic levels of alcohol in Proof's system were later said to have fueled the argument, making the situation even more unpredictable. Etheridge was charged but later released when the shooting was ruled self-defense. Even with the case officially closed, rumors and theories kept swirling for years. Some fans believed there was more to the story. Whispers about possible tensions inside D12 or deeper industry drama that never came to light. Whatever the truth, one thing's clear. It was another tragic case of talent lost too soon, proving once again how pride and pain can destroy even the strongest bonds. Even years later, people still question what really happened the night Proof lost his life. D12's former manager once hinted that strange phone calls and possible setups took place before everything went down. And for Eminem, the loss cut deep. He said it himself. He never truly recovered. Proof wasn't just his best friend, he was family. M poured his heart into songs like You're Never Over and Difficult to honor his brother in rhyme. A simple pool game argument ended up taking away one of Detroit's most important voices, a connector, a mentor, and the soul of the city. Proof never got to see how legendary his name would become. And to close it all out, we've got to talk about Soulja Slim, the Tupac of New Orleans. His story is the perfect example of how fame can turn the people around you into threats. Born James Tapp Jr., Slim came up in the tough Magnolia projects, repping the streets that raised him. He even pioneered the camouflage style that No Limit Records later made famous. His career was just reaching new heights when tragedy struck. His posthumous hit Slow Motion with Juvenile went #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2004. But Slim never got to witness it. On November 26, 2003, the day before Thanksgiving, he was found dead outside his mother's home in Gentilly. Police later arrested Jarrell Smith, someone Slim actually knew from the Magnolia neighborhood. The suspected motive? Money and music business disputes. But since nobody was willing to testify, the case went cold. Then came the twist straight out of a street tale. On August 13, 2011, Smith was found dead in his own home, hit multiple times. That case also remains unsolved. In the end, the courts didn't bring justice, but the streets seemed to settle their own score. The pattern is always the same. Fame brings eyes, jealousy, and betrayal from places you'd least expect. If you like this deep dive into hip-hop's most shocking betrayals, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss the next one. See you in the next video.